Welcome back to International Crime Zone and Unseen Crimes. Today we dive into a chilling story that shook Australia in 2025. A former reality TV star, once adored by millions for her charm and intellect on the popular show Beauty and the Geek, now finds herself at the center of a gruesome murder investigation. This is a tale of fame, betrayal, and a shocking descent into darkness that no one saw coming. As we unravel this twisted story, prepare for a journey into the mind of someone whose public persona masked terrifying secrets. Make sure you stay until the end, because the revelations are more horrifying than anyone could imagine. The story begins with the sudden disappearance of a young man, last seen attending a social gathering, hosted by the former reality star. Friends described him as cheerful and full of life, unaware that this night would mark the beginning of a nightmare. Surveillance footage shows him arriving at the star's residence, laughing and chatting, completely oblivious to the sinister plans unfolding behind closed doors. Authorities later discovered that the star had been meticulously planning something that no one could have predicted. Neighbors reported hearing strange noises late into the night, sounds that were dismissed at the time as loud music or a party. However, a few hours later, emergency calls were made when suspicious activity was observed around the property. Police were immediately dispatched, but when they arrived, the star was calm, composed, and cooperative, offering plausible explanations for everything. This calmness, though, would soon be questioned as investigators delved deeper into her personal history and online communications. Her public image was one of sophistication and intelligence. She had amassed a significant following, portraying herself as both charming and relatable. But behind closed doors, friends and acquaintances revealed troubling behavior, obsessive tendencies, controlling habits, and a fascination with crime documentaries that many had considered harmless. These details, initially brushed off, became crucial pieces of the puzzle as the investigation intensified. The victim, a close friend of the star, had no known enemies. His sudden disappearance triggered a media frenzy, with fans and former contestants expressing shock and disbelief. Social media erupted with speculation, theories, and accusations, many of which turned into a feeding frenzy for tabloids. Despite the chaos online, law enforcement maintained a methodical approach, collecting evidence from digital devices, security cameras, and personal interviews. Every detail, no matter how minor, became a potential clue. As the investigation progressed, authorities uncovered chilling messages and disturbing online activity, linking the former star directly to the crime. Dark patterns emerged, threatening notes, online searches about dismemberment, and detailed diagrams found in her private digital files. The calm, glamorous persona that millions had admired suddenly transformed into something terrifyingly sinister. Tonight, we begin a journey into the depths of a story that questions everything we think we know about fame, obsession, and the darkness lurking beneath the surface of a smiling face. The investigation took a shocking turn when forensic teams discovered traces of blood in the star's residence, meticulously cleaned but not entirely concealed. Experts noted that the cleanup was deliberate, suggesting prior knowledge or preparation. Authorities also found tools that could be associated with dismemberment, each carefully catalogued as evidence. The discovery sent waves through the Australian media. A beloved reality TV personality was now linked to a crime scene that seemed almost cinematic in its horror. The public could not reconcile the friendly, glamorous figure from television with the chilling images described in police reports. Neighbors came forward, recounting previously dismissed incidents, screams, heavy footsteps, and unexplained movements late at night. A pattern emerged. The star had a history of unusual behavior, ranging from obsessive cleaning rituals to private storage rooms that no one was allowed to enter. Investigators began connecting these behaviors to the meticulous nature of the alleged crime. Each revelation added layers of suspense, showing how carefully the events had been orchestrated behind a veneer of normalcy and charm. Digital forensics revealed conversations with unknown contacts, encrypted messages discussing methods and timing, and searches about how to avoid leaving forensic evidence. These messages painted a portrait of a calculated individual, someone who had seemingly plotted the act with precision. Experts suggested that the psychological profile indicated both cunning and detachment, a combination rarely seen in such high-profile cases. The juxtaposition of her public persona and private intentions shocked even seasoned detectives. Interviews with former contestants of Beauty and the Geek revealed that several had noticed her unusual fixation on control and power dynamics. Some described her as manipulative and intensely private, traits they initially considered quirks of fame. However, in retrospect, these behaviors were early warning signs of a personality capable of extreme actions. The contrast between the bubbly TV star and the cold, calculated suspect created a surreal narrative, one that fascinated and horrified viewers across the nation. The media frenzy escalated when leaked photographs from inside her property revealed areas that looked suspiciously like a crime scene. Public speculation ran rampant, with social media users piecing together timelines, sharing theories, and debating motives. Commentators dissected every detail of her public life, interviews, Instagram posts, and live streams, looking for signs that could explain how a seemingly ordinary reality star could be implicated in such a violent act. The story had become a cultural obsession. Amidst this chaos, law enforcement faced immense pressure to solve the case quickly. Every lead, every tip, and every piece of digital evidence was scrutinized with forensic precision. The star's calm and collected demeanor during interrogations unnerved investigators, making them question how a person could appear so composed after committing, or being accused of, such a heinous act. The tension was palpable, a mix of disbelief, fear, and fascination that gripped the nation. The victim's family spoke publicly for the first time, their grief raw and unfiltered. They described a young man full of ambition and dreams, someone who had trusted the star implicitly. Their statements revealed the human cost behind the shocking headlines. This was no longer just a scandal. It was a devastating tragedy. Investigators noted the emotional weight in these interviews, understanding how personal connections could illuminate the suspect's motivations, her relationships, and perhaps even the trigger for the horrific act. The public's empathy surged, and social media became flooded with heartfelt tributes and desperate pleas for justice. Detectives soon uncovered a series of private meetings between the star and the victim in the weeks leading up to the disappearance. Friends reported subtle tensions that were previously unnoticed, small arguments, controlling behavior, and obsessive curiosity about the victim's personal life. These interactions, initially dismissed as normal quarrels, were now being re-examined as potential precursors to the crime. Experts suggested that a dangerous fixation had developed, fueled by a desire for control and domination, which escalated into violence. Every discovery added a layer of suspense, pulling the nation further into a story no one could have predicted. A breakthrough came when authorities traced her movements through digital footprints. GPS data, ride-sharing apps, and security cameras painted a chilling timeline of the night in question. It appeared that the victim had been lured into a carefully orchestrated trap, with every step monitored and planned. The precision of the alleged action stunned investigators. This was not a crime of impulse, but a meticulously strategized act. Public fascination grew as the media reconstructed the night, turning every detail into a macabre narrative that seemed lifted from a thriller film. The star's social media accounts revealed a darker side that had gone unnoticed by fans. Private messages, deleted posts, and obscure accounts contained cryptic references to control, endings, and finality. Some messages hinted at obsession, while others suggested premeditation. Psychologists and true crime experts debated her motives on live broadcasts, analyzing personality traits, past experiences, and potential triggers. The nation became engrossed in a psychological puzzle, eager to understand how someone admired on national television could allegedly commit such atrocities. Law enforcement also examined her financial records, uncovering suspicious transactions that suggested attempts to cover tracks and perhaps even conceal aspects of the crime. Large sums were withdrawn, assets shifted, and obscure payments made to unknown recipients. These financial anomalies added another dimension to the investigation, implying that the planning extended beyond the physical act into a careful manipulation of circumstances to avoid detection. It was a level of sophistication that made the case all the more terrifying. Amidst all the scrutiny, the former reality star maintained a calm exterior, attending interviews and court proceedings with a composed demeanor. Some observers interpreted this as shock or denial, while others saw it as chilling evidence of detachment and cunning. The public, glued to every update, watched a narrative unfold that blurred the lines between celebrity culture, psychological intrigue, and horrifying criminal behavior. Every revelation brought more questions than answers, and suspense grew as authorities prepared to present a case that could rock the nation. Forensic experts delivered findings that sent shockwaves through the investigative team. In the star's private storage areas, meticulously documented samples of human tissue were found, each analyzed and cataloged with precision. The evidence suggested that the victim had been dismembered, and the method used was calculated, showing a disturbing level of knowledge about anatomy and disposal techniques. Investigators were stunned. It was rare to encounter such a high-profile suspect with evidence so meticulously tied to the crime. The gruesome nature of these discoveries captivated the public, amplifying both horror and morbid curiosity nationwide. Investigators also uncovered traces of chemical cleaners, specialized tools, and protective gear that indicated planning beyond mere impulsive violence. The layout of the property itself revealed secret compartments, areas cordoned off to hide evidence, and a systematic approach that appeared almost ritualistic. Experts described it as methodical, precise, and terrifyingly efficient, a stark contrast to the bubbly personality displayed on reality television. This juxtaposition fueled debates in the media and on social platforms, with fans and critics alike struggling to reconcile the star they knew with the one emerging in court documents. Digital evidence further exposed the chilling premeditation. Authorities recovered encrypted messages to anonymous contacts detailing timelines, methods, and contingency plans. Search histories revealed repeated inquiries into forensic evasion, methods of body disposal, and tools that could facilitate a crime while minimizing risk. Forensic psychologists suggested that this reflected a detached, calculating mindset, one that methodically balanced risk with intent. Every revelation deepened the suspense, leaving both investigators and the public questioning how someone could maintain such a facade for years while harboring terrifying intentions. Friends and former show contestants were interviewed again, many expressing disbelief and horror. Several recounted incidents where the star exhibited controlling and obsessive tendencies, including isolating friends, monitoring activities, and making cryptic remarks that hinted at morbid curiosity. These retrospective accounts, combined with physical and digital evidence, painted a portrait of someone whose obsession had escalated beyond reason, ultimately manifesting in a crime that shocked the nation. Each narrative added suspense and context, demonstrating how seemingly minor behaviors foreshadowed horrifying outcomes. The media coverage intensified, with news outlets providing 24/7 updates on evidence and trial preparations. Leaked court documents detailed the methodical approach to the alleged crime, from the initial abduction to the disposal of remains. The chilling precision described by authorities captivated audiences and drew attention from international media. True crime communities dissected every detail, creating timelines, speculating motives, and debating the psychological state of a former reality TV star who had gone from beloved celebrity to a person accused of unimaginable violence. Amid the mounting evidence, the former reality star's demeanor remained unnervingly composed. During interviews, she spoke with measured words, sometimes offering vague explanations but never fully addressing the gravity of the allegations. Legal analysts suggested this calmness could be a strategic defense tactic, while psychologists debated whether it reflected detachment, narcissism, or an unsettling ability to mask true emotions. The suspense was now at its peak. Australia and the world watched as a case that began with fame and glamour descended into horror, leaving everyone questioning how well we truly know the people we admire. Witness testimonies began to shake the foundation of the investigation. Neighbors, delivery personnel, and even casual acquaintances came forward with accounts that painted a chilling picture. Some recalled seeing the victim enter the star's property that fateful night, never to leave again. Others described observing odd behaviors, lights flickering at unusual hours, doors that were mysteriously locked, and sounds that resembled struggles or muffled cries. Each statement, though small in isolation, began to form a horrifying mosaic of events, leaving investigators and the public alike struggling to piece together what truly transpired. The star's past associates painted a complex portrait of her personality. Former friends and colleagues revealed patterns of manipulation, obsession, and paranoia. On set, she had reportedly clashed with contestants, displaying a strange fixation on control and dominance, sometimes escalating into aggressive confrontations. These recollections, initially trivialized in the glamour of reality television, now seemed like early indicators of the disturbing tendencies that would culminate in the crime. Forensic psychologists suggested that these traits, if unchecked, could evolve into extreme behavior, a notion now tragically realized. During interrogations, investigators noted the star's extraordinary ability to maintain composure, even under intense scrutiny. When questioned about the night of the disappearance, her responses were calculated, often vague and carefully crafted to avoid self-incrimination. Law enforcement described a psychological duel in which every question revealed a deeper layer of her strategic thinking. The tension in the interrogation room was palpable. It was a battle of wits where detectives had to navigate between carefully scripted answers and subtle behavioral tells. This intellectual cat-and-mouse game captivated both authorities and media observers. Further investigations revealed disturbing online behavior. Multiple anonymous accounts were linked to the star, each containing cryptic posts and coded references that suggested forethought and planning. Some posts were eerily detailed, describing scenarios and tools used in dismemberment, while others contained morbid musings on life, control, and finality. Digital forensic experts highlighted that these were not impulsive searches but part of a deliberate, obsessive pattern of thought. As the world watched, the narrative shifted from a simple crime story to a chilling psychological study of a person whose fame masked a sinister inner world. Authorities also discovered attempts to manipulate narratives surrounding the case. Social media activity, deleted messages, and contact with influential figures indicated efforts to control public perception. Experts suggested that the star's high-profile status provided her both a shield and a platform for subtle influence, complicating law enforcement's efforts to gather untainted evidence. Every revelation created suspense, as the public tried to decipher what was manipulation, what was truth, and what remained hidden beneath layers of deception. The stakes reached a critical point when investigators identified a potential second crime scene linked to the property, a hidden area designed for concealment and privacy. This discovery confirmed suspicions that the crime had been planned with extraordinary detail. The meticulousness of the alleged acts, combined with the star's ability to maintain a public persona, transformed the case into a story that blurred lines between reality television drama and true crime horror. Australia, riveted and horrified, awaited further revelations, fully aware that the darkest chapters were yet to unfold. The arrest of the former reality star sent shockwaves across Australia and beyond. Media outlets flocked to the courthouse, cameras capturing every expression, every subtle gesture, and every attempt at composure. Fans who had once adored her were divided between disbelief and horror, struggling to reconcile the charming television persona with the accusations of murder and dismemberment. The scene outside the court was electric with tension, as protesters, journalists, and curious onlookers crowded the area, all eager for a glimpse of the woman who had captivated millions yet allegedly committed the unthinkable. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was equally intense. The star appeared calm, impeccably dressed, her demeanor controlled and deliberate. Legal analysts speculated that her composure was both strategic and psychological, a performance honed over years of being in the public eye. Prosecutors presented the evidence meticulously. Forensic reports, digital footprints, witness statements, and the chilling tools discovered at the property. Each piece of evidence painted a damning picture, making it increasingly difficult for the defense to maintain plausible deniability. The suspense was almost unbearable, as every detail seemed to confirm the gravity of the accusations. The media coverage was relentless. 24/7 news channels dissected every moment of the proceedings, analyzing facial expressions, body language, and courtroom interactions. Social media exploded with hashtags, theories, and debates. True crime enthusiasts and ordinary viewers alike speculated endlessly, attempting to understand how a reality television star could allegedly commit such a calculated, horrific crime. The combination of fame, intellect, and alleged brutality created a narrative that was as compelling as it was terrifying. Witness testimonies continued, each adding layers of horror and intrigue. Friends of the victim recounted the last known interactions, while neighbors described suspicious activity in and around the property. Former associates of the star shared insights into her personality, charming yet manipulative, intelligent yet controlling, seemingly kind yet capable of detachment. As each testimony unfolded, the public was forced to confront the uncomfortable reality that fame and affection can sometimes mask a dark, hidden side. The suspense deepened with every account, creating a gripping narrative that captivated viewers around the world. The star's defense team attempted to challenge the evidence, questioning the validity of forensic reports and suggesting alternative interpretations of digital data. Yet the weight of the investigation, coupled with the meticulous documentation by authorities, made these defenses increasingly tenuous. Observers noted the tense interplay between prosecution and defense, a psychological battle where every word, gesture, and pause carried significance. The courtroom became a stage for both legal strategy and a deeper exploration of human psychology, leaving audiences riveted to every development. As the trial progressed, international media attention grew. Documentaries, podcasts, and news segments dissected the case, turning it into a global phenomenon. The suspense was relentless. Every day brought new revelations, every witness added nuance, and every piece of evidence made the horrifying reality more undeniable. This was no longer just a local scandal. It had become a study of obsession, fame, and the terrifying potential for darkness hidden beneath a public persona. Australia and the world watched, unable to look away. As investigators delved deeper into the star's past, shocking twists began to emerge, revealing motives and hidden relationships that no one had suspected. It became clear that her interactions with the victim were far more complex than initially thought. Friends and acquaintances disclosed that the star had been obsessively monitoring the victim's life, controlling who he could meet and where he could go. What appeared as a friendship or mentorship to the outside world now seemed a dangerous possessive fixation. Psychologists called it a textbook example of obsession, escalating into criminal behavior, a transformation so subtle that it went unnoticed until it was too late. Authorities uncovered secret relationships with multiple individuals who had been quietly entangled in her life. Some were admirers who willingly participated in her schemes, while others were coerced or manipulated. Text messages, emails, and private conversations revealed a web of deceit, control, and hidden agendas. The revelation of these secret relationships created an even more disturbing portrait of her psychological state, someone who could compartmentalize, manipulate, and plan in ways that few could comprehend. The suspense intensified as detectives realized the full extent of her influence and the carefully constructed facade she had maintained. Psychological profiling painted a chilling picture. Experts noted traits consistent with narcissism, obsessive-compulsive tendencies, and detachment from moral constraints. Her ability to maintain a glamorous public image while allegedly committing a violent crime indicated a high level of intelligence and emotional control. Analysts suggested that she derived a sense of power from secrecy and control, a dangerous combination when paired with the opportunity and planning she had meticulously executed. This duality between public charm and private malice became a focal point in media discussions, amplifying the fascination and horror surrounding the case. Further twists emerged when investigators found encrypted files detailing premeditation and contingency plans, revealing the lengths to which she had thought through every possible scenario. These files included detailed strategies for disposing of evidence, manipulating witnesses, and maintaining her reputation in the public eye. Experts described the documentation as methodical and chillingly precise, reflecting a mind capable of extraordinary calculation. Each new discovery heightened suspense, drawing the public deeper into a case that was both psychologically complex and morally horrifying. The victim's circle provided additional insights into the star's manipulative behavior. Several friends revealed that subtle threats, intimidation, and coercion had been ongoing for months before the disappearance. These behaviors, seemingly minor at first, now formed a pattern consistent with escalating obsession. Investigators noted that the combination of intelligence, meticulous planning, and emotional detachment made her actions exceptionally dangerous. The story transformed from one of a shocking crime to a cautionary tale about how obsession can escalate into violence when left unchecked. As this chapter of the investigation unfolded, the media framed it as a gripping psychological thriller. Documentaries and news reports speculated endlessly about motives, relationships, and mental state. Every revelation added tension, suspense, and disbelief. The public could not reconcile the bubbly television personality with the dark, calculating individual depicted by investigators. This contrast made the narrative irresistible. Everyone was compelled to follow every detail, desperate to understand how fame, obsession, and meticulous planning converged in a crime that would shock the world. The courtroom became a stage for tension and drama as the trial reached its most intense moments. Prosecutors meticulously presented evidence linking the star to the murder and dismemberment, using forensic analysis, digital footprints, and witness testimonies to build an airtight case. Each revelation was delivered with precision, painting a terrifying picture of premeditation and cold calculation. The public watched in stunned silence as the glamorous television personality, once adored by millions, faced the weight of damning evidence with an unnerving calm that only intensified the suspense. The star's responses to the evidence were equally chilling. In cross-examinations, she maintained poise, carefully choosing her words to deflect blame while subtly challenging inconsistencies in witness accounts. Legal analysts described her demeanor as both strategic and disturbing, a testament to the intelligence and emotional control that had allowed her to maintain her public persona while allegedly committing such a heinous crime. Every pause, glance, and carefully phrased response was dissected by the media, keeping the audience riveted. New witnesses emerged, providing additional insights into her private behavior. Former acquaintances spoke of obsession, intimidation, and calculated manipulation, suggesting that the alleged crime was the culmination of long-standing patterns. These testimonies added layers of suspense, revealing how a person could appear charming, intelligent, and harmless on television while hiding increasingly dangerous tendencies. The courtroom became a theater of psychological intrigue, leaving viewers around the world captivated and horrified. One of the most shocking moments occurred when digital evidence was presented. Investigators displayed encrypted messages, deleted posts, and search histories that suggested meticulous planning of not just the crime, but the aftermath. Some messages included strategies for avoiding detection, disposing of evidence, and manipulating the narrative if suspicion arose. Experts described this as evidence of extreme premeditation, demonstrating a level of planning that few had anticipated. The audience was left grappling with the depth of calculation behind the alleged acts. Media coverage amplified the suspense, with 24/7 reporting, expert analysis, and social media speculation. Viewers dissected every moment, discussing motives, psychological profiles, and potential outcomes. The juxtaposition of celebrity culture and gruesome crime created a narrative that was impossible to ignore. Fans who had once celebrated her charm were now forced to confront the terrifying reality, while true crime enthusiasts analyzed every detail with intense scrutiny. The world had become engrossed in a story that blurred the lines between entertainment, psychology, and horror. As the trial progressed, the tension in the courtroom reached a breaking point. The star's defense attempted to challenge evidence, question witness credibility, and highlight potential alternative explanations. Yet each argument was countered with methodical precision by prosecutors, reinforcing the impression of a carefully orchestrated crime. The suspense escalated with every hearing, leaving the public anxiously awaiting the next revelation. Australia and the world remained glued to a case where fame, obsession, and meticulous planning collided in the most horrifying way imaginable. The investigation revealed the final, most horrifying pieces of evidence. Authorities discovered hidden recordings, meticulous journals, and encrypted files documenting the star's thoughts, fears, and plans. Some entries contained confessions cloaked in cryptic language. Others outlined contingency plans for avoiding detection. Forensic analysts noted that the level of detail suggested months, if not years, of planning. The public was left reeling. The reality star who had once charmed millions now appeared as a calculating, methodical predator, capable of masking her true nature behind layers of charm and intellect. New revelations about the star's past further shocked the nation. Childhood friends and former classmates spoke of early signs of obsessive behavior and fascination with control. While many of these traits had seemed harmless or quirky, they now appeared as precursors to a darker path. Psychologists suggested that these patterns, combined with the pressures of fame and a desire for control, created a dangerous psychological cocktail. Audiences worldwide were left to reconcile the image of a bubbly television personality with the calculated actions that had allegedly led to murder and dismemberment. The victim's family endured another wave of trauma as details emerged. Private correspondence, photos, and personal messages painted a fuller picture of the victim's final days. Interviews with family members revealed heartbreak, disbelief, and anger, but also courage as they spoke about seeking justice. Their words underscored the human cost of the crime, shifting the narrative from sensational headlines to the devastating reality for those left behind. The public, though horrified, was drawn deeply into the emotional gravity of the case, connecting with the tragedy on a personal level. Investigators also uncovered disturbing elements of psychological manipulation. Evidence suggested that the star had used subtle threats, coercion, and strategic charm to isolate the victim and maintain control over him. Friends reported patterns of obsession and intimidation, which escalated into the horrific crime. Experts described this as a textbook example of how charm and intellect can mask dangerous intent. The public was captivated, unable to turn away from a story where fame, manipulation, and murder intertwined so disturbingly. The media continued to amplify the suspense, highlighting each new discovery and interpretation of evidence. Analysts debated motives, timelines, and psychological profiles, while true crime communities dissected every leaked document and testimony. Every revelation increased the tension, making it impossible for viewers to disengage. The nation had become invested in understanding how such a chilling act could emerge from a person once celebrated for intelligence, charm, and beauty. As the courtroom drama continued, the star's composed demeanor remained unnerving. She attended hearings with a calm, calculated poise, leaving observers to wonder if it was shock, strategy, or chilling detachment. Meanwhile, prosecutors meticulously pieced together the evidence, revealing a crime that was both premeditated and horrifying in its execution. The suspense was unbearable. With each revelation, the case deepened, showing a chilling portrait of obsession, control, and the darkest corners of human behavior. The trial reached its gripping climax as prosecutors presented the final, undeniable evidence linking the star to the murder and dismemberment. Graphic forensic reports, detailed timelines, and irrefutable digital footprints left little room for doubt. Witnesses testified one final time, recounting the chilling interactions and behaviors that had preceded the crime. The star remained composed, her expression unreadable, but every detail exposed in court painted a portrait of a person whose public charm had masked a terrifyingly methodical mind. The courtroom was electric with tension, and the public followed every update with bated breath, the suspense almost unbearable. During closing arguments, the prosecution emphasized premeditation, manipulation, and obsession. They detailed how the star had orchestrated every element, from luring the victim to meticulous cleanup and attempts to manipulate public perception. Defense attorneys argued alternative interpretations and questioned the reliability of certain evidence, but the overwhelming documentation and witness testimonies rendered these arguments tenuous. Legal analysts described the proceedings as a psychological chess game, where every word and gesture carried weight. The intensity left viewers riveted, caught between disbelief and fascination. Outside the courtroom, media coverage reached a fever pitch. News channels, social media platforms, and podcasts dissected every angle, every expression, and every twist in the case. International attention turned the trial into a global spectacle. Audiences debated motives, psychological profiles, and the contrast between fame and hidden darkness. True crime enthusiasts analyzed minute details, piecing together timelines and motives, while ordinary viewers struggled to reconcile the bubbly reality TV persona with the horrifying acts revealed in court. The suspense was now universal. The victim's family, present throughout the trial, displayed raw emotion, grief, pain, and a demand for justice that resonated with the public. Their statements were heartfelt and haunting, grounding the sensational case in human tragedy. The contrast between the star's composure and the family's anguish intensified the drama, leaving viewers torn between horror and empathy. Each emotional testimony reminded the audience that behind the headlines and shocking details were real lives forever changed. As the final verdict approached, the courtroom felt suffocating with anticipation. Every observer, both inside and outside the room, understood the gravity of what was about to be revealed. The star's calculated demeanor, the meticulously documented evidence, and the victim's family's heartbreak all culminated in a tense moment that would determine justice. For millions watching globally, it was a chilling lesson in how obsession, intellect, and fame can intersect with horrifying consequences. The case of the former beauty and the geek star serves as a stark reminder that appearances can deceive, and the most charming faces can hide the darkest intentions. The world watched as a reality TV icon became the face of one of the most chilling crimes in recent Australian history. This story of fame, obsession, and murder has left a permanent mark, challenging viewers to question the masks people wear and the secrets they hide. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to subscribe to International Crime Zone and Unseen Crimes to follow more shocking true crime stories. Stay tuned because the next case could be even more unsettling.